Hey, so I'm Joshua Jarvis, by the way, just in case, and had a question about the zero moment of truth that Google put out, and as it relates to internet leads, or internet home buyers and in some cases sellers. So really, there's like 4 types of sort of internet home buyers, if you will, that are looking on the internet, or internet leads, if that's what you want to call them. So we're going to talk about those 4 types, and then we're also going to talk about the zero moment of truth. So first, for you to understand this, you really need to know that the zero moment of truth is kind of what Google talks about, is that the buyers, in their case, they're saying, hey, the consumer is basically making a buying choice and looking online for answers to things even before they take sort of buying actions, if you will. And so as that relates to real estate, that can look like a lot of different things. It can look like research, you can look for search for homes, it can look for different things. And so kind of wanted to talk about that. So you've got these 4 different types of sort of home shoppers, if you will. You've got your first timers. This is a picture of a cloud with some lightning on it. Because they don't really know what to do. So they're doing all kinds of different things. And you can see their time horizon is 8 months to 2 years, so 24 months. And so because they don't know, a lot of times they may not know that they don't know how much money they need to put down. They don't know what the buying process is about. And so they're online. So these guys are doing a lot of sort of ZMOTs, if you will. They're doing a lot of zero moments of truth online because they're researching a lot. You have your move-uppers or your move-downers. These guys typically have a plan. And so instead of them taking sort of 6 months, typically you've got 2 groups of those. You've got the people that are sort of planning to move, and so they plan about 6 months in advance. Or you've got the other people that are kind of like maybe the downsizers, or they're waiting for the market to shift. They're waiting for something to happen. And when you talk to them, you really need to know what that is. So they have a plan, right? And then another group of people that are on the internet are the buyers, right? Are the investors, right? So these guys have a plan, and they're looking for the lowest cost homes out there. So they're looking at lower prices, but they typically are buying in a cycle. So they have a plan, and they just continue to follow the cycle. So if they end up on your website, for instance, chances are someone or some resource has let them down. So that's important to note. Why are they on your website? Chances are they're doing research, and somewhere something's missing. And so that'd be another thing to kind of point out. And then you have your relocators over here. These people just found out they're going to move, and so they don't have a lot of time to plan. And so their funnel is going to kind of go move a little bit faster. But what these 4 all have in common is that their funnel and their zero moment of truth is all going to be the same. So for instance, most of these people are going to start looking for homes in the general sense. So let's think back to when you've moved, or if you haven't moved, think about it. But chances are, if you're watching this video, you've moved at some point, even if it was a rental. And so you went and looked at homes for sale in city, right? So city name homes for sale. Right now, that search term is pretty much occupied by Zillow. In fact, if you look right now, for most of the metropolitan areas, city name homes for sale is going to have Zillow, and it's actually going to be full of ads and a featured snippet, and that's all above the fold. So like your first screen is going to be full of pretty much Zillow and then pay for advertisement. So, but that's what people start off with. That's where they kind of jump into the funnel. They're looking for homes. They're kind of trying to get an idea. Where would I want to live? So even a small area, like even our family, we have a dream of one day sort of owning property maybe in Hilton Head or on the beach or something. And even a small little island, it's you find out there's little pockets of that island that you may want to live in. And so you only know that by doing the research. But this is the top part of the funnel. And so this is where this kind of process starts. And so for these guys, they don't know anything. So they may be starting off very broad. They actually may start in the question phase, right? Because they don't know, what does it take to buy a home? So if you were trying to attract first-time home buyers, then what you might do is have your question. You might be answering those kind of questions. What questions do first-time home buyers have? How much money to put down? How much, what does it look like to buy a house? How much of maintenance cost? Those sort of things. Any question that you typically answer with a first-time home buyer, you could do that on a blog, and then you'd be right there. And these guys, like I said, they may start here instead of here, right? Because they don't know where do I want to live, because they may, and in fact, what that usually happens is they'll look here and go, ooh, that's expensive, right? Because if you're in Atlanta, for instance, you go, what's a house for sale cost in Buckhead, right? And you're like, wow, that's a lot of money. So then they have to go back and say, well, what is it? How can I afford? How much money can I put down? Once they've answered this, as they move further down the funnel, they're actually going to be in that sort of refinement stage. So the questions that they're asking are a little bit more specific. What are good schools in Decula? What are good schools in Cobb County? What are good schools in Atlanta that cater to a certain need? What's a good neighborhood in Midtown? Which building satisfies those requirements I'm looking at? And so that's what they're doing on this funnel. They're not going to contact an agent until they're ready to actually see the inside of the house. And chances are they may contact a listing agent if you've not gotten into their in that process. So first timers, they're gonna be asking questions. They're kind of all over this board. That's why this is got, like I said, a cloud with some lightning in it. These guys, like I said, they have a plan. They're gonna start searching for homes, and these guys may start with value, because a lot of times the move uppers, move downers, chances are they may have a home. And so that's why it's such an important question to ask them, are you going to have a house to sell? What's your current living situation? Because when you talk to them, like I said, chances are really good they already have a place. These guys might still be living with parents or in an apartment or something, sort of post-college. And so, you should actually ask all these people that same question. But these guys might have a house to sell, and they may not be able to sort of articulate that to you if you don't ask the right question. So you want to make sure you start asking questions, because they may want to know what their value is, and you'd really hate to sort of help them along the process, and meanwhile they're getting their house for sale, they're getting their house ready to sell, and they sort of didn't realize that you could do that too. So you want to go ahead and start there. But they're going to follow that process. They're going to go search for houses, questions, research, refinement, and then contact the agent. These guys are actually more likely to go ahead and actually get the lending process done, whereas these guys probably won't at all, right? So you have your investors. These guys hopefully aren't the kind, you're going to have sort of two kinds, I think. You may have the guys that watch the webinars, and they're going to think, hey, I need to do some yellow letters, and I need to do, and I'm going to try to buy houses without money, right? So those are the webinar guys. You're going to have to set them over to this side, because as most real estate agents, you're not going to be able to help that group. But for everybody else that are actually professional investors, these guys are typically going to be able to have some sort of proof of funds because they've already thought about it. They may not want to give it to you, but they should have it. And typically, a good investor is going to have a criteria. Here's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house built in 1990 that's in this school district with this kind of roof, with this. So they may be very, very, very detailed. Most guys I know that are successful investors, they have a particular house that they like. They like split foyers if they're a renter, rental type investor, like a long-term investor. They may like when I was buying investments for flipped, I really liked the Gresham Park area, because I felt like I could cater to first-time home buyers. I could go in and get a sort of a ranch style or split-level house, and it was a lot of house for the money for a first-time home buyer in that area. And it was kind of an up-and-coming area in Atlanta. So investors should have a plan. So you could ask them, you can kind of skip over some of the questions that you might use to sort of qualify someone and say, you know what, we love working with investors. Tell me about kind of what your criteria is. What's your plan? What's your exit strategy? So you get strategy conversations here. So we're kind of going over how to talk to these people. And I'm going to hit these guys next, but then I'm going to go back and actually talk about sort of blogging and the internet conversation around these guys. So relocators, these guys typically, they're getting a move. We've had several clients like in the Atlanta area, from Publix come over, and they don't have a lot of time. And so these guys are really great clients. What happens is typically they have to do their search quickly. They're more likely to talk to you on the internet. These are great internet leads. The only downside of these is those relocation companies that sort of can steal your commission, because they're going to charge you a bunch to refer it out. And so you want to make sure that as you're talking to these, one of the first questions you're going to want to ask them is your company helping you with the relocation? If you get in there early, you might be able to be added to the relocation thing, but you're probably going to have to split the commission with them. Just be aware of that. But not everyone is on that, so there's still a valid group to go after if you're going to target them. So how do you target these guys? So that would be, so what kind of conversations do you want to have with them? The first-time home buyers, you're going to want to walk them through everything. The move-uppers, move-downers, you want to sort of identify, do they have a home? And then continue to walk through them, but know that they have a plan, and so you don't need to sort of hold their hand quite as much. Investors, you definitely don't want to hold their hand, and you want to be able to give them information quickly. And the relocators, the same thing. You want to be able to give them information quickly, but you're going to be more of a concierge here than you will even with the first-time home buyers. You're going to be more of a concierge. They want people to help them because they've got to move quickly. All right, so how would you target these people? So we've already talked about this a little bit. You'd answer those first-time home buyer questions, right? So how much money to put down. What does maintenance cost? The sort of the hidden dangers of homeowners associations, those sort of things. So you could do blog posts. You could do a market report if you wanted to. You could even write a blog post about the best neighborhoods for first-time home buyers, right? The other thing you want to do is you want to research your first-time home buyer neighborhoods, right? What is that price point? Now, typically, if you don't know and you don't want to go and do the research, it's going to be right around that, below that median price point is going to be that. And you want to look at what the rent is. So in Georgia, for a lot of times, for like a long time, it was that sort of 150 and under price point. So again, just know the median price point for those neighborhoods. So you could write basically about those neighborhoods. You could write about first-time home buyer type questions. Here, you're going to want to answer the question of how do I get my house ready to sell? How do I move up? How do I downsize? Those are the kind of questions that you want to answer on the internet. The other thing is you want to know your move-up neighborhoods. So you could also talk about those neighborhoods. And so if the median price point is your first-time home buyer neighborhood, you'd go up another 100 or 200,000 and try to figure out what those move-up neighborhoods are, or the downsize neighborhoods. It could be retirement communities. It could be a bunch of opportunities there, but you'd write about those neighborhoods. The other thing is that with investors, if you wanted to attract investors, you'd target the really low-end neighborhoods that could be fixed up for first-time home buyers. The other thing that you would talk about is how to get the best return on your investment. You start talking about analytics. A great resource for this is Bigger Pockets. So if you ever see biggerpockets.com, go there, check it out. There's a lot of investor conversation there. And then for relocators, it'd be all about how to relocate. You could write the 101 things you need to know before you relocate to city. You could say the best neighborhoods that welcome relocators, right? Or the best neighborhoods for people who are relocating and don't have a lot of time to do research, right? So you could do that about that. Since this is a broad group, typically their price range is going to be above the median price point. People that get relocated and have sort of the funds are typically going to be in a little bit higher price bracket than sort of your first-time home buyers. That's not always the case. Like, I'm not trying to paint a broad brush. I'm just trying to give you some ideas. So these guys are all going to be doing questions and research. They're going to be slightly doing it differently, but the process is still going to be basically the same. So you could, if you were trying to target a local market, you could hit one of these, right? But if you're going to blog, then you might want to pick a specific audience for you to blog about. The other thing is that's going to be really big in sort of 2018 is going to be video. And so you might want to do some video content, right? So if you've got a client that fits one of these boxes here that we've sort of outlined for them, then you might have them talk about that, right? You could do like live at the closing. Hey, we just closed with the Jones family and you guys just relocated from Dallas. Tell me what it's like to move from Dallas to Lawrenceville, Georgia, right? So I would go in and do video because video is going to be very big this year. And you're going to want to be able to show yourself with the clients because that's sort of social proof, right? So those are some things that I was thinking about, particularly when it relates to the 0 moment of truth that you were asking me about. And then as it relates to these buyers and Sizzle content, everything I talked about was basically a blog. I don't know that you want to go and spend a lot of time trying to beat Zillow here, right? But there's a ton of information on the questions that they have. And this is stuff that you guys do every single day. You're answering questions every day. And so it's very easy to say, well, what are the most common questions I'm answering? And then try to match it up with the most common client that you've had. I bet that you'll find there's some sort of pattern there that you could put over there. So anyway, that's the talk about this. Hopefully this was helpful. If you have any questions, just hit me up. I'm more than happy to answer those. I'm Joshua Jarvis. You can find out more information about me at forwardmarketing.com. That's 4rdmarketing.com. And hopefully if you like this video, I'll do more. All right. Thanks for watching.